Arizona, which is the number 2 seed overall. I think they have a decent road to the Elite Eight. I think they're going to get very little challenge out of that group. It's Seton Hall and TCU, it's Houston and UAB, it's Illinois and Chattanooga, and I don't think any of those teams are going to give Arizona much of a problem to get to the Elite Eight. The other side, you have a couple of really good matchups. You could see Tennessee going right past Longwood. Colorado State, Michigan is probably a really good game. If what the committee is telling us that the Big Ten is that good, Michigan should put up a fight. The other side, we already mentioned Loyola Chicago playing Ohio State, and although Delaware is probably a pretty good squad, Villanova probably in the end takes over that game. So once you get down to it, Arizona moves to the Elite Eight pretty easily. And then the other side of the bracket, you got a couple of games. You got Tennessee, you got Villanova. I like Loyola Chicago to come out and play well. I actually think they're going to win too. They're going to beat Villanova. But I do think Tennessee probably is the second best team in that little bracket. And, I can see Arizona beating Tennessee going to the Final Four with very little opposition, to be honest. Like, out of all the brackets, to me, that's probably one of the weaker brackets out there.
Okay. Kev, what's your take on the South?
I disagree. I actually have Villanova going all the way through and winning the whole thing. So I definitely have them getting past Tennessee. And I have Illinois upsetting Arizona. Arizona's a really good team, but, sometimes I just, look for that one seed to go down. And I think Arizona could be vulnerable there. But I think that Sweet 16 matchup, Tennessee-Villanova, could be a great, great game.
I'm with you, actually. I have Illinois beating Arizona in the Sweet 16. I also think that I have Tennessee, getting out of this whole bracket. So I have Tennessee playing Illinois in the Elite Eight in that matchup. I think Tennessee-Villanova is a really good game. I think Loyola is better than Ohio State right now. I do think that. Listen, these are college kids, and all it takes is one bad shooting night, and we're all sitting there saying, what the heck, But I think Colorado State Michigan is actually a pretty interesting game. The fact that when you usually see that matchup, you would expect Michigan to be the 6 and Colorado State to be the 11 in normal years. To me, Michigan, they got in. I don't know if they belonged in, but Colorado State's really good. They're better than people realize. But Michigan has a little bit more size than Colorado State does. I do think that, I think Illinois' defense is going to give Arizona some fits. And they have a big guy in the middle named Coburn. Don't mispronounce it because you can get in trouble. Coburn, who's he's just a monster when he's able to stay out of foul trouble. He's really a good player, and they have a bunch of good guards. So that's going to be pretty cool. Kev, what was you want to talk East a little bit?
I was going to go East. Again, I think I've got Purdue coming out of that one.
Okay.
Going for the top. Obviously, the 1 seed Baylor. I don't see too much on their side of the bracket worrisome. North Carolina Marquette. I think one of you guys said it earlier. That's a very interesting 8-9 matchup. That's a coin flip game. I think St. Mary's takes care of the winner of Wyoming, Indiana without much problem, and then takes care of UCLA. I don't see Akron giving them much of a problem, and Baylor beating St. Mary's.
Mm-hmm.
Other side, of course, Purdue. I've got Virginia Tech over Texas. Virginia Tech's coming in, of course, hot off that ACC tourney win, and especially beating Duke. You gotta love Virginia Tech. And
exactly.
And I've got Murray State, and I've got them actually upsetting Kentucky.
Okay, so you got Murray State down to the 16.
So then, Purdue, Murray State, Purdue beating them, Purdue, Baylor in that Elite Eight matchup. And I just think Purdue's a really tough team. That's going to be a hell of a battle with Baylor, but I see Purdue getting out of that region.
Whenever you got a 7'4" guy with skill like Purdue has, it's a tough matchup. They have two centers. they have two centers that are really good. They are big, and if Ivy's hitting his shots and they're hitting their jumpers, and Gillis and these guys, they are really dangerous. G, what's your take on the East?
So I like St. Mary's coming out. I have St. Mary's playing Baylor in that Sweet 16, and Baylor is very inconsistent. They can have a good game, they can have a bad game. I think St. Mary's can play with any of these teams that when they play Gonzaga, they go head to head with them. Gonzaga's the number one team in the country right now. On the other side, so much of this is us disagreeing with one another on the matchups and the teams. I will be rooting hard for Murray State to beat Kentucky. I'll be rooting very hard, but I just don't think they have enough to beat Kentucky at that point. I do have Virginia Tech winning a couple of games, beating Kev's Purdue squad. And in the end, I have St. Mary's beating Kentucky to go to the Final Four. So
the Gales.
I think this could be one of the teams that plays a little upset role with some of these bigger teams. They're a very good squad, and we'll see if they're up to the challenge.
Much like I'm a little different than you guys, since I don't have St. Mary's going very far. I have Baylor winning their game, and I have Marquette winning their game, and I think Baylor will get by Marquette. If Wyoming beats Indiana, I like Wyoming over St. Mary's. If Indiana beats Wyoming, I like St. Mary's to beat Indiana. So just the way it works, and I like UCLA. I think UCLA will get by any one of those three teams, and I think that they will get by Baylor, and they'll get to the Final Eight. On the bottom, I like you, just like you guys. I like Vatech. I think that Texas struggles to score with as many skilled players as they have. They have size and they have skill, and yet they still struggle putting the ball in the net. Kind of cracks me up a little bit because you would expect more. I think Vatech will win. I think Purdue will win their game. I like San Francisco to beat Murray State, and I like Kentucky to handle St. Peter's. And I think that we'll look at Kentucky versus Purdue in the bottom of that bracket, and I'm going to take Purdue just like you are. And at the top of that bracket, I think UCLA. So I have UCLA getting to the 4 again and knocking off Purdue. Now, bracket I want to talk about was the West, because I have this bracket blowing up. Every year, one of these brackets is going to blow up, and to me this year, it's the West. So, and when I say that, Gonzaga still beats Georgia State, so don't worry about it. I think Boise State handles Memphis in a good 8-9 game. I think New Mexico State and Vermont both win. Okay, I think New Mexico State will give UConn problems. Teddy Allen's a great player, and I think that he can score a lot of points for New Mexico State, and they're a good team. On the bottom part of that bracket, I think Rutgers is going to beat Notre Dame, and I think Rutgers is going to beat Alabama. I think that Texas Tech is going to win their game. I think Michigan State will get by Davidson, and I think Duke will win theirs. I do think that Duke will get to the 16 and play Rutgers, and I think Rutgers will get to the 8. I also think Gonzaga will end up playing New Mexico State, and Gonzaga will get to the 8, and Gonzaga eventually gets to the 4. So for me, the West is wide open, as I have the 11, 12, and 13 all winning. And now Kev, your take.
Wow. Agree with the Gonzaga. I've got Texas Tech working its way through and losing to Gonzaga eventually. I blew up a little bit. I took Davidson, and I have Davidson beating Duke. That could just be anti-Duke sentiment. But I think Michigan State, with Izzo, they either make a run or they seem to lose first round. And I think this could be one of those years they lose first round.
Yeah, they did last year as well. They lost in the playing game to UCLA.
Gino, anything from you?
Yeah, I have Davidson playing Gonzaga in the Elite Eight. I do think a lot of what Darren said could be true. I could see a lot of these games getting blown up in this bracket. I could definitely see New Mexico State winning. I could see Vermont winning. I can see Rutgers or Notre Dame beating Alabama. I think Davidson, exactly what you said, Kev. He is those good and bad. I think Davidson can win that game. Duke, this is not the powerhouse Duke team we all know. Personally, I don't think they deserve the 2 seed, but they're the 2 seed nevertheless. And I have Gonzaga playing Davidson in the 8. I have Gonzaga getting out of that bracket. So,
it's kind of funny if Michigan State and Duke both win, you get the Izzo Krzyzewski matchup, which is kind of one of those fun coaching matchups if you ever get into it. But we all hate Duke, so therefore it doesn't really matter to us. And then we finally, I guess we'll go to the Midwest, and this is to me this bracket was I wouldn't call it a weaker bracket, but I guess this and the East to me were the 2 weaker brackets. So. Any upsets that you guys see in the Midwest? Kev, we'll start with you.
I've gone back and forth on this one. I see South Dakota State beating Providence.
Okay.
And I've got Iowa State getting into the Sweet 16. Those are my 2 big upsets.
Who do you got going to the 4?
I've got Auburn.
Okay. Gino, you have this one blowing up a little bit.
This was my blow-up bracket. Yeah. I have San Diego State beating Kansas. It's a good San Diego State squad out of the Mountain West. I have South Dakota State beating Providence and then beating Iowa. I have Iowa State beating LSU, beating Wisconsin. I do have Auburn getting out of this bracket. They're about the only one that's basically unscathed as the 2 seed for me. But if this was to hold true, it would be an 8-13, 11-2. 4 teams left in the Midwest. And a little funny quip, Darren, the second round game could be SD State against SD State, little San Diego State versus South Dakota State. So
it could very well be. Well, I'll tell you this. I have San Diego State beating Kansas. So I have Kansas as the number 1 seed that doesn't make it to the second weekend. And it's not that I don't think Kansas is very good. I just think that one of them is going to lose, and I'm going to say it's Kansas. I do think San Diego State gets to the 8 for me. I have them beating Kansas, and I have them beating – well, Iowa Richmond is like 2 of the same team, but Iowa's just better at it. They have a little more size. They're a little bit bigger and a little bit better, but they're good shooting teams. They space the floor well. They pass well. I just think Iowa will get through, and they'll get by Providence. On the bottom side, I like LSU more than you guys do. I think the coaching change will help them maybe galvanize the team. Maybe I'm thinking of Steve Fisher replacing Bill Frieder back in the day. I'm not sure, but I think Iowa State has been one of the worst teams in the tournament in the country, not in the country, but in any team that made the bracket in the last 10, 15 games. I think LSU is much better. I do agree with you guys that Wisconsin's overseeded. I think LSU will get to the 16. I think Miami, the only team I didn't have in the field, will beat USC, but then fall to Auburn. I think Auburn runs through the bottom, and Auburn gets to the Final Four. So, champion, Gino? Oh, you have something to say first. I'm sorry.
Yeah, before we get to that, let me just give you a little seedings. Win-loss records the last 36 years. So you got 144 games. The 8 versus 9, 8 wins 71 times, 9 wins 73 times. So that's pretty much a toss-up. We're not talking spreads. We're just talking straight seedings.
Yep.
The 7-10 matchup goes 86 and 57. So it's definitely skewed now. The 6 and 11 is 90 wins to 54 wins. The 5 seed is 93 wins to 51 wins. So basically, if you're a 5, 6, and 7, you basically have just about the same odds to win or lose that game, no matter if you're ranked 5, 6, or 7. I know a lot of people always make a big deal about that 5-12 game that always seems to come up, but really not that big of a difference. The 4 seed is where you really start seeing the numbers skew. 113 wins against 31 losses. The 3 seed, 122 wins over 20